Welcome to Cablevision HD. I am Complacent Badger with...
Gympy!
Hey man, we're doing it again.
We are. It's almost like we did this all at once, but we didn't. But they don't need to know that. We did
Y-
this all at once.
Yay! Ignore the
Yay!
costume change. Gimpy's still wearing his clothes from last time.
Yeah, which would, of course we did, because we did this all at once. Seems
Yep.
weird you might suggest otherwise.
Alright, so we actually have your team taking the pitch.
Yeah, this is going to be an excellent lesson in what not to do, so you're welcome, everybody.
Look at what I'm doing! Hold on, I'm not doing it.
Okay.
Hey!
Yay! We have grid. I'm so happy.
Yeah, alright,
This
so...
is actually our second time trying to shoot this. The first time I was placed in a dead cow at the request of one of our coaches,
Yeah,
but I came in really muffled, so
yeah.
we had to go a different route.
And we couldn't get the camera just right, so
Yeah,
we had to
it's
fix it.
super weird.
Alright, so it appears that you're receiving, correct?
I believe I am. However, I will say this season I have at least once, possibly twice, made the mistake where I did a setup to receive, even though I was kicking off. So I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. High kick, that's good. And
Yep.
you are in fact receiving. Let's see
Yeah.
if the ghoul takes it. He does.
Best case scenario for an undead team is getting the ball without having to work for it.
I mean,
Not a
that's
lot of agility on this team.
I know the feel, man. I know the feel.
Yeah, as with your team especially.
All right. Early boo-boos with the mummy.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those games where that you start to see that AV real early in this game. That's if there's a big difference between these two teams. There's one, the huge agility edge that the rats have, and two, the huge, I guess, durability edge is probably the best way to say it for undead.
Yeah, I'd feel a lot worse about injuries if it wasn't Skaven.
Yeah, I mean, this is the dream, is to watch Skaven slowly die.
Yep. Wow.
Although 2 injuries in the first turn is rough biscuits.
Well, the mighty blow makes it to where that's actually not terrible odds to happen. So
Yeah,
really, it's the second one that was kind of odd,
yeah,
kind of.
a
It
little.
it is gutter
I mean, it is an
runners.
AV7, but yeah, still.
All right, so it looks like he's throwing one die at you.
Yeah. And it's a bold move there to do that one die, especially with a gutter runner. I don't know if that's the first move. Like, man, I would debate there about potentially just trying to get that extra die in, or maybe just dodge out with that gutter runner, because they're so important to your team as a Skaven team.
Yeah. I was expecting more of just trying to get those gutter runners behind and just slow up those skeletons. Because, like, yeah,
Hmm.
the skeletons can throw dice, and it could even be 2 die if you do 1 and 1. Um,
Hmm.
but the skeletons, they don't have block, and you have dodge. So the odds of you not getting hurt without there being a turnover is pretty good. I think I'd actually risk that. Plus, if he throws those blocks, those skeletons can't come up and reinforce that cage, leaving it open for the rest of your team.
Yeah,
Now,
even if he doesn't throw a block, if he just throws a sacrificial lamb out there,
yeah,
I'm stuck. That guy can't move.
yeah. And the only reason I mentioned the gutter runners is because they have the agility to get behind and get it, and the movement to get in there and get to the back of that cage, leaving your strength threes to come in and break in. Because I think he's got one blitzer, or no, two blitzers in the pitch right now. Uh,
Yeah,
and they're not getting through the mummies, but if you can make a hole where those skellies are, then that's perfect for your blitzer.
yeah, agreed.
You're caging really well, doing that slow roll cage with the mummy's tip of the spear, which is pretty strong. Here he goes cage breaking against that skelly.
Yeah.
Um,
And I was a little exposed back here, but I just wasn't worried because I'm not in a huge rush. The
well,
longer we're on the pitch, the more hits I get to throw, and that's a huge advantage for me. Like, I'm good with that.
and your cage was basically perfect. Obviously didn't have the one space there, but you had the ghoul in position to block any movement.
Yeah.
So your cage is, fairly textbook. So there was no worry of anybody infiltrating because there's no weird abilities out there.
Hmm.
Ooh. Well, it's the last time I'll talk shit on a gutter runner, I guess. It won't be.
Right?
Oh, but the white's back. That's good. He'll be back on the next
Yeah, get
drive.
that regen. I mean, that's what Undead does is they just continue to come back.
Yeah.
So it's if there's one huge edge that Undead has, it is definitely resilience.
Okay, so the cage is going for it. Are you hungry for that gutter runner?
A little bit, but I can't blitz him this turn
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, I
So
was expecting.
he'll have an opportunity to dodge out.
Yeah, I was expecting because the blitz unlocked the cage that you were going to do a lateral movement. But engaging the gutter runner, I mean, that could work, especially
Yeah,
because it's mummies that are engaging. They're not going to get overrun by a single individual.
yeah. And for me, forward movement's always bigger for a slow moving team. I think any slow moving team, much less mine.
Yeah.
Lateral movement can definitely set you into that case where that gives him another opportunity, especially if I don't engage him, to create that what's it called, that agility cage. That standoffish defense where I'm still not getting forward progress, but now he could kind of swarm my weak
Yeah.
points.
I was just expecting you to get one space forward, two spaces left.
Yeah.
But he is going for that mummy.
Hmm. He was very bold with his one dies this game, and they're not bad one dies by any means. Most of them are block characters. Like
Mm-hmm.
he does a few of them with a storm vermin, which is definitely the route to go there. But he might have been a little more aggressive with it than I might have been.
Yeah. It does involve leaving those gutter runners adjacent to mummies, which, I mean, I guess if you're going to put anybody other than the Stormworm in there, they're probably the ones to pick, because at least they have that dodge to back up on.
Well, the storm vermins have block; they won't have dodge.
Well, that's what I mean. If you can't put the the Stormworm in there, you put the gutter runners there, because they're better than
Right.
just linemen.
Yeah, exactly.
Defensively.
So I managed to get a little bit of forward motion here. Nothing too big. And again, I'm going to have that slightly off-kilter cage, but I still have plenty of alleys to get out when the opportunity arises. And as long as I continue to engage those gutter runners, that gives me opportunities to either have him fail dodges or potentially throw a block, God forbid.
Yeah, you're keeping that thrower busy with your receiver, and you got that second receiver open as well. So he's putting pressure on that cage, but he's losing bodies doing it, and that just makes your receivers a lot more appetizing.
And again, though, this is one of those things where 3 injuries in 3 turns is incredibly unlucky. So having a player advantage is a huge benefit.
I don't know if it's unlucky, man. He's playing a lot more aggressive than Skaven's really meant to. They don't really have the stats to back up an aggressive play like Elves would, but they also don't have any skills right now to be so aggressive either.
Right.
So, and even Elves wouldn't be going toe to toe with mummies. They'd be, you try to pierce on the weak point of the cage, back in where the skellies are. Because he knows as long as he stays one space in front of the cage, or at least he should know, one space in front of the cage, you're not going to get any more than one space. So literally
Right.
just parking 2 linemen or 2 gutter runner one space away, then you engage, you dodge out one space, you dodge out one space, and you just keep doing that.
Yeah.
And then you
And
attack.
that minimizes the hits you're going to take. You're
Yeah.
only going to take 1 hit a turn like that, as opposed to here where, I mean, and to be fair, that last turn, you saw it.
Yeah, well, he
more
finally did it.
Yeah. But yeah, those first 2 or 3, I shouldn't be getting 2 or 3 hits a
No.
turn.
That's
much
how
less
you lose AV7 teams.
Mhm.
Nice.
There we go. Starting to even that up a little bit.
What was the? Oh man, if that was a Skelly, he wouldn't have been KO'd. I don't think. That
Yeah.
injury roll was an 8.
And that's where we continue the eternal battle between skellies versus zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Zombies are less likely to get injured in the first place. Skellies are more likely to stay on the pitch when they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, but skellies also come with that extra movement.
Yeah.
That's a nice add-on for them.
Yeah.
I did split 2 and 2 for my team.
Mm-hmm. I think the more that I play against undead, the more I appreciate the skellies. Like, I think zombies are, for some reason, they're like that you go to, like when you first start playing undead, because they are like they are kind of more reliable. But I think the flexibility that comes with skellies is just it's too much to pass up.
They are very nice, and I have a certain emotional bond there.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Well, I also have a thick skull.
All right. Well, you are creeping ever so close to that line.
And we just run it in. No need to take more risk than we need to.
Jagul.
Yeah, he might be a returning player from late in the last team. There were definitely some returning players when I built this one.
Okay.
When you got that loyalty.
Yeah. I mean, they don't. It's been a little bit. He's been, resting underground. You had to piece him back together, so he doesn't have all the skills that he once had. But some of the original parts.
Not as good as he once was.
No. All right. Well, look at you not setting up for receiving.
Yeah. So look at me killing it.
He's got 6 players in the. Oh no, 8.
Yeah. Still though, that's a big disadvantage to be on. This is an interesting setup for him. I don't know if I do this, man. I think I feed one guy to the mummy and I put the other 2 on the very outsides of the lines.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't like leaving mummies alone in the beginning. I don't like mummies, like basically any big guys getting yardage early.
The movement on those mummies is just so low, and you get to move first. So I think, for me, I would rather feed him that one guy and let him hope to catch up while you just leave him in the dust.
Hell, by that logic, I probably would have just thrown. Does he have 3 gutter runners right now? I'd have thrown 3 gutter runners on the line and just fucking dodged them away from the line.
Yeah. Also something that you could do, especially because right here, his strategy was to open up a hole, which he did a great job of, and get receivers downfield. Or actually, he got the ball downfield. This is very aggressive. That is a bold move to move that ball up so quickly with not a lot of support there.
Yeah, I guess he tied up your white, so you're not gonna get the block unless you want to dodge. But I mean, it was good tying up that white.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the rain doesn't really give you many options for a pass, and you only had 2 turns. I think that was really the only play that he had, just hoping, like you did, roll 2 attackers down, and then you could just run it in.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that was his best play considering the situation.
Fair enough. And I ended up having 2 anyway because the ball bounced in a place that was a little more advantageous for him.
Woo!
Or more maybe disadvantageous for me. And then we got death. This could have been a player for me. This could have been a new player, but I guess he just didn't want to join the team. Boo.
Oh, did he re-roll that? Oh yeah, he did.
He did. He got no injury on it, even.
Yeah.
But that is now 4 injuries and deaths.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously it didn't fall that way, but basically 1 every 2 turns statistically. AV7 team, the only one that he got that was AV8 was the last one, and he was against a mummy, so that's and you got to think, I think 3 of your, or no, maybe 2 of the injuries have come from mummies. Was it 3?
2. I believe I still have a mummy who's living in the danger zone of 4.
Okay. So at least half of the injuries done by mummies, which is basically their job. Okay. Well, let's see if it works. Probably not, but oh no.
Yep.
I mean, he's trying.
Definitely. I mean, that's a tough one. You've got 2 tackle zones there. You've got the rain going. He did have his receiver already in position, which I think we talked about for one of the previous games
Yep.
with Jester about whether or not you leave that guy for the short pass or bring him downfield for the long pass.
So, setting up, the rats are receiving once again.
Slightly
Oh,
different setup this time. We noticed that they've got this time he fed the linemen to the mummies and basically no one else, but with a good amount of stuns, immediately swaps that player advantage.
yep. That pitch evasion was big. It definitely changes some things up there.
I believe this completely swaps it because I've got, let's see, 5 standing players. Is that correct?
Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yep.
5. Yeah, 5. He had 6, and then
He's got 7 now, I think, standing.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, looks right.
Yeah. And with that speed advantage he has, that's a huge edge. That's real good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you do blitz with the Skelly. I mean, I guess that's the only move.
Yeah. It was the only one I didn't have to dodge, so
Mhm.
that was the deciding factor there. I didn't want to have to risk extra rolls if I didn't have to. At least, go for it as a 2+ versus the 4
Yeah.
4+? No, 3+.
3+
3+
for
to
everybody
get
else.
that ghoul out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I guess the white.
Definitely, definitely the play I would have done as well. So one thing to look at now is that even though you have players down, a lot of them are still doing their job because they're in the way.
Yeah.
That knock out of the way didn't do you any favors, but
Fortunately, he does not have the extra speed to make it all the way to the end zone. So that is still a chance. So you're saying there's a chance right here. But he's going to do a good cage here. It's going to take a small miracle.
yeah, and if he puts the Stormverm where I think he's going, this is basically a perfect cage, all things considered.
Yeah.
That was a good play altogether. 2 turns, he just aggressive movement downfield.
Yeah. But that's exactly what he needed here was to be aggressive and take advantage of it.
Yeah.
The one downside is that if he scores too quickly here, that gives me an opportunity to
Return.
potentially, stroll down again.
Yeah, but he's got to do it just for the chance of getting a second touchdown as well.
Yeah. All right. And then do our free moves. A basically free move.
Interesting that he oh no, that was your strike, not a dodge, sorry.
Yeah.
KO'd that guy. Again, the mummies are the ones doing the work.
Yeah.
Like I know it makes sense in the mind to throw a guy with block against the mummy. Oh god, another injury. But honestly, if you have the players, which I don't think you did, anyway, but only throw linemen at the mummies.
Yeah.
Unless...
And then at this point, we just went nuts. And then I had an opportunity to potentially re-roll that, but I was like, no. Both times forced him to pick it up and rain. This is the best chance I have to prevent a score here.
Yeah, that was, especially with how much is left in the half with you on top, make him make the rolls, not you.
Yeah.
And he does drop it. And another chance, and another chance. Oh, they all drop it. Alright, so he didn't move any of his other players, so that's not great.
Yeah, this is a huge swing here. But, I mean, to be fair, where the ball was placed, I don't know how much he would have moved more players. Maybe one more guy would have been closer?
Yeah.
The only other thing he could do is pick up that lineman to get pushed on by a mummy. And realistically, that mummy's not moving.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to take him away.
Yeah. I think there's a chance that I would have put that Storm Vermin tighter in a square, but the ball went to him anyway, so it's a moot point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so the downside is he moves closer to the ball. Right side is I got lucky with the pen, and, anytime you can hit a gutter runner, you should do it.
Yeah, that was exactly Basically, you're doing everything that I would do in this situation. Ah, surprised you re-rolled that.
Didn't need it, but I know my luck. And I really wanted a downfield blocker because I have a legitimate chance now to potentially get this ball and do something. So that is the best case I have for receiver. So him going down is not point out.
Man, he's trying for that lucky pop.
Yeah.
Oh, again? Ugh.
Yeah, that's the one I may not have done. And that ball's in a real weird spot for both of us.
Well, this is one of those situations where you could, if you do a bad push, you might accidentally give him a touchdown on your turn.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen. Let's go get this guy.
Fuck that guy in particular.
Ugh, this is a gross. So, yep, sending the white downfield, perfect. Always have that eligible receiver in a weird situation, especially when you have player advantage.
Yeah. In this case, I'm just trying to set up the chain. Like, if I can turn this really quickly into a one turn, I need to go for it. So set up the chain, set up a potential of a couple of obstacles in the way, do what you can for it. Well, in this case, I probably should have pushed away, but I wanted to try to push him out.
No, yeah, I think this is exactly what I would have done too. It just, you know, a low chance of failure, but it gets the player out of the pitch, which is the worst thing that could happen for him. And safety, right?
Yeah. Well, and this is where things get weird because he has this angle, and it's a weird angle.
Yeah.
Now, what I did not realize in Blood Bowl 2, and I don't think this was the case in Blood Bowl 1, is in Blood Bowl 1, for a situation like this, I think it pushed him, like it forced a push to a push on players. It didn't force him out of bounds. So I didn't even consider this as a thing that I had to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And then it apparently just forces him straight out of bounds here.
Yes.
So like, well, fuck.
Yeah, because it's the same way in the rule book and in the original Blood Bowl, which was it considers it an open spot.
Yeah. So at that point, I don't know if I would have set up differently, honestly, because he used two dies uphill or two die uphills, and there's a 1 in 3 chance that works in my favor, where it's either both down or an attacker down.
The only thing that I would have if I was if I was coaching your team, I would not have gone to grab the ball.
Oh, you just left it?
Yeah, because you grabbing the ball puts you in risk of getting pushed out and starts to dwindle your player, and also puts the ball back into position, most likely on his turn.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I would have just let him try to fumble with it, especially being on the lead. You have nothing to gain by touching that ball.
That's fair. That's a good call.
Now, granted, he could have still picked it up, but with, basically what ended up, I think, was in 3 players for the most part. Probably could have stripped one off, and in the rain. And then, if it bounces out, it likely bounces off after most of his players have gone. So he may have 1 or 2 players able to do something with it. It would have just, again, it's Monday quarterbacking, but oh my goodness.
And that's 6 or 5 injuries and 1 death.
Yeah, so Master
We
Moose
might be past statistical anomaly at this point.
AV7, man. Most people who are watching this probably already watched my game. No, I'm sorry. My first game was against Kislev Circus. But anyways, AV7, man, it is odds to pen. Well, not odds to pen. Mighty Blow makes it odds to pen.
Gotcha.
So, it's just a tangential point that I was leading with was that Master Moose and I were talking at the beginning of the season. We were looking at people's rosters, and when I saw that the Skaven team had a starting lineup of, is it 3 gutter runners or is it 4?
I think it's 4. I think I just injured one immediately.
Yeah, so both he and I, and he's a very experienced Skaven player or Skaven coach, and both of us were like, ugh, that's a
squishy team.
Yeah, you got to get a lot done really quick, or else you are not going to have players. And I think that's coming true. I think more. I think more standard Skaven teams get that Rat Ogre, and they do maybe 1 or 2 Gutter Runners, no Apothecary, and then they get. I think they get the 2 Storm Vermin. I'd have to look at. I don't play Skaven. But that Rat Ogre, I think that lack of Rat Ogre is the thing that scares me the most.
Yeah, and this is a rough team to go up against without that strength 5.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I mean, I guess to be fair, even with strength 5, with this particular team built the way it is, like it's still not great. But
Well,
mummies are always scary because they're the only big guy without the nega trait.
yeah. The big deal with the Rat Ogre is that you're probably going to tie up those 2 mummies. He's AV8, so he's going to most likely keep those mummies tied up for the game. So it's a 1 to 2. Instead of right now, which is the mummies remove the people off the pitch because they're all AV7.
Right.
And you do have to expect that, with blitzing, you're probably going to get at least a KO every other turn. And what are we, 15 turns in? And, yeah. I mean, I think there was maybe 1 KO that refreshed and a death that he had to recover. So we're looking at
that's about right.
7 people. Like, that's pretty much what you can expect with an AV7 team, is that you're going to lose somebody every other turn. It's compounded on how his opening, I think, 3 turns, how aggressive he was and standing next to, increasing the number of blocks. It looks very bad, and the fact that there were injuries, that's an anomaly. But like stuns and KOs, they should have been as prevalent, if not more.
Right.
But all it takes is 3 higher on 2d6 for it to be an injury rather than a stun or a KO. It's not that crazy.
Yeah, and I think I looked back at it, and the trade-off being, he got. I went back and I counted, and he had a huge number of 1-dies. And any 1-die with a negative effect, he was able to re-roll into a positive, or a positive or a neutral one.
Yeah.
And, obviously if you have the choice, more players is better than rolling those 1-dies consistently, but, in the long list of things that it could be, there are rolls that help compensate for what happened.
Yeah. I think the problem, and we'll see if it ends with a 1-1, but I think the biggest problem with these with the Skaven have been that he's just been, Ice Cream Animal's been a little bit too physically aggressive with them. They're just, that's not the kind of way they play.
Yeah, clearing up routes so I don't have to dodge.
And that's a touchy.
Yep.
Very nice, well done.
Thanks. It's playing your odds, the best that you could do.
Yeah. Ghoul Runnings.
This will be the last game I win all season.
So yeah, Ghoul Runnings comes back and he showcases with destroying the cameraman. But yeah, that's the end of your first game. First game. Well done. I think you played very well. I think we mentioned maybe 1 or 2 things, like talking about whenever we were all fighting on the end zone.
Not picking that up was probably the smarter play there.
So your rolls are pretty even, sitting on a 3, which isn't ideal for an AG3 team, but this is pretty good and pretty consistent.
Yeah, and any dodge, a 3 is a win.
That's true. Pick up and dodge, well, except for the rain.
Yeah, well, the pickup affects isn't so good with the rain, but yeah, for a dodge, you're still good for any 3 and up. So
yeah, that's true.
Still okay with that.
So looking at this, his rolls are pretty well split. But you also have to take in consideration that he has to roll his own armor. So that leaning towards 5s and 6s probably actually didn't go in his favor, because it feels like maybe a lot of those fell in that injury, because only so he went halves on injury rolls.
Yeah.
Which that's a little high, and I think that's where all of those extra 5s and 6s fell. Were those instances. I think otherwise his rolls were, I mean, he didn't fail the passes. He didn't fail a go for it. He got, I mean, wake up for KO. Failed a lot of pickups, but a lot of those pickups were not. I don't think they were in really good situations either.
Yeah, he did have that one really unfortunate one, which he re-rolled. So that's two of his pickups that failed that he
Hmm.
should have. Realistically, we say should have picked up because they were what 3 pluses on those
Yeah.
with the rain. Or no, I guess it would be yeah 3 pluses on
Yeah, because
those.
he's gutters. The dodges were probably better than you could expect, since quite a few of those were also linemen.
Yeah, and I mean 31 dodges. It's a
Hmm.
lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was one of those things that his high rolls came at the worst time, and those were injury rolls.
Yeah, that very well could be.
I mean, and you got about, like I was saying, 50% armor pen, just under. I mean, that's what I expect against an AV-17.
Hmm.
So that's not ridiculous. This is the one that's a little off.
Yeah, the actual injury roll is a little high.
Yeah. But I mean,
But like you said, he only had one KO the whole game.
yep.
You know,
So
that's only a difference of what is an 8 to a 9 is the difference between or no, I guess it'd be a 9 to a 10.
yeah, 9 to a 10. So we're talking about one different. Like you can't really hem and haw too much about that. So my takeaway for that, it's very very specific situations. Talking to the line, um, I think. I think otherwise you did just fine, caging up, slow. Your receiver movement on that first drive was impeccable. Um, I guess the only thing that I would hope is that, especially against Skaven, I know it's tempting to have like all your stuff helping you and pressing against him. Maybe keeping a white in the back just in case something weird happens.
Yeah, and the first drive was actually where I really noticed it because we didn't lampshade it, but he actually had a gutter runner set up as a receiver in the backfield as I was charging forward. The downside of that was one fewer player he had to attack the cage.
Hmm.
But I mean, all it takes is a failed block or a failed or a failed dodge, and that ball's loose. And he had a touchdown. And I thought about that at first. I was like, I should have brought someone back there.
Yeah.
The only time where the second drive I didn't really worry so much about because he wasn't as aggressive and I had 2 turns, so everybody I can get downfield is a worthwhile body.
Yeah. And the only thing I have for the Sargento artist would be, and I think he learned it real fast. Just don't be physically aggressive with the rats. They can't stand toe to toe. You have to put up that one space elf defense, especially if you're gonna run all those gutter runners. You got to stay one space away and just hope that the opponent makes a mistake.
Yeah, 100% agree on that, and like you said, I think he figured that out after a couple of turns. Whereas, oh, there are too many block dice being thrown.
Yep. And then his offensive drives were great. They were textbook Skaven, and sometimes even a little unorthodox, but he made it work by exploiting the weakness of your team not being able to dodge too well, and the ones that can, or like they're decent at it, aren't too great at blitzing either. So
Yeah, he did mark a lot with his gutter runners, and like you said, I don't mind it so much, especially on players that lack block.
hmm.
But I'd be real careful about marking whites or any
Yeah.
another player that has block with those gutter runners because now the odds are no longer in your favor to stand up.
Yep. And at the very least, it's not going to cause a turnover if you do get knocked down, if you're going
Yeah,
against people with block. Which, if you were going to give up a gutter runner, try to get at a turnover at the very least.
exactly.
All right. Well, I think that was a good game. Well played. I think both of you. I think both of you did very well. That could have gone to either side, just a couple rolls different. So
Yeah, 100% agree. Good job to the Sargento artist. Got a little lucky with early pens that helped swing the game in my
yeah,
favor.
very much. All right. We'll see you on the next one.
Later.